All right, Adam, thank you. And to give us more reaction on this developing story right now here in our state is the Smith County Republican Chair David Stein, live in studio. Hi, David. Thanks for coming on.
You bet. Glad to be here.
We appreciate it. So, first of all, just tell me your thoughts on top Democratic officials there in Austin that literally leaving the state to try and block these legislative efforts on redistricting.
You know, this is like a repeat of an episode from a 1960s sitcom. This is what they do. They've done it before. They'll keep doing it. Unfortunately, elections have consequences, as we were reminded by Barack Obama in 2008. And when you have a party in power, they can do this. When they redistrict, this is something they can do. It's not illegal. Democrats have done it for years. As a matter of fact, the term initially started from a governor of Massachusetts named Elbridge Gerry, who in 1812 made a district that looked like a salamander, hence the word gerrymander is where that emanated from.
So on that note this morning, so obviously they're accusing Republicans of doing this. Would you say it is gerrymandering or not really?
Well, you can call it what you want. I think that at this point, the population has changed in Texas, and that's what I look at. This makes more sense now than just deciding to do something. The population has changed by 8% in Texas since 5 years ago. And so that's a significant change in population. And so looking at these things right now is okay. I'm fine with it. I think it makes sense. Let's make sure that the districts aligned with their constituents.
I wanted to read you this quote earlier this week. So a Illinois Democratic rep saying at a news conference, quote, "Don't mess with democracy. If you decide to gerrymander those seats, two can play that game, and other states will, and neutralize whatever the Texas Republicans do to the federal map." What do you make of that statement? That was earlier this week.
Sure, and Illinois is like the pot calling the kettle black. This is something that they are famous for. Cook County in Illinois is one of the most corrupt counties in the United States. And so this is something that both parties have done. There's a lot of hysterics, there's a lot of hyperventilation that goes along with this, but Illinois has done it, California's done it, New York's done it, they've all done it.
So is it just because 2026 midterms, they're coming up obviously next year? Is that why, would you say, Democrats are pretty much freaking out over this because they could potentially lose 5 seats here in Texas?
I think that's a legitimate claim. I think that's reasonable to say that. You know, again, the population shift causes a lot of that. But yes, if I were Democrats, I would be concerned about losing seats.
Of course, usually it's every 10 years looking at it. Why do it now? I know you said the population has changed, but why not wait until we get to that period?
For me, why not? Again, you can. And so it's not something you have to do, but it's something that you can do. And many have done this before. It's more unprecedented in a mid-cycle. But still, with the dramatic population, we've never had a shift in population like we've had right now.
And then, of course, on Tuesday, Governor Abbott asked the Texas Supreme Court to remove the top Democratic leader in the House from office. What do you make on how Governor Abbott and other top Republicans, how they're currently handling this situation there at the state's capital?
So I ultimately don't know what's going to happen with that. Here's what I do know. Greg Abbott was a Texas Supreme Court justice for 6 years. He was Attorney General for 14 years, and now the longest standing governor in the country. If anybody knows the Texas Constitution and the Constitution of the United States and what you can do legally, it's Greg Abbott. So I think that he's going to shake some of these folks loose. I hope that they respond. They need to come back to Texas and do their job, even though they don't like it. That's what you do. You come back, you fight as best as you can, and some you're going to win and some you're going to lose.
How long do you think they're planning to be in places like Chicago, Boston, New York? When do you think they might come back here to Texas?
That's a great question. I don't know what's going to happen with the law legally. I applaud them on their choices, because any excuse to get out of the Texas heat, certainly Boston, New York, Chicago are places that you want to go. They're not. You notice they're not in New Mexico or Arizona. But I don't know. But I think that the governor is prepared to call special session after special session.
So I'm guessing you got a chance to look at that proposed congressional map. Came out last week, I think. Talk about that a little bit to our viewers. What are the changes here in East Texas, most importantly, that you saw?
Well, so for Smith County, it doesn't affect us at all. What the counties that are affected is that Congressman Moran would pick up, I believe, Cherokee County and Nacogdoches County. And I know that Upshur and Wood would come out of his district. I think there are a couple north to us that come out of his district and then would go to either congressional district 2 or 3.
Okay.
So,
and then one of my final questions here for you before we go to break. Are you surprised that this has made national headlines, or when you saw redistricting on the special session agenda from the governor, this had the makings of pretty much a top news story right now in the United States?
Greg Abbott is big news in this country. You know, he made the border issue a national issue. When we were getting overrun at the southern border, people didn't believe what was happening. It wasn't until he started busing these folks to the other areas in the country that people woke up to how bad of an issue that this is. So people are following what he does. He is getting out in front of this. He's taking leadership. He's lobbing a grenade across the bow, and I support my governor.
Finally, before I let you go, of course, you saw other other governors Democratic governors in places like Illinois, New York, I'm sure you saw it, are now threatening, California are now threatening to redraw their congressional lines in their congressional seats, their lines there. What do you make of that? Do you think they're actually going to do it? Of course, this is all coming from Texas right now.
Right, and they can. There again, that lies the whole issue. When Republicans redistrict, Democrats don't like it. When Democrats redistrict, Republicans don't like it. And that is part of this particular process. So if they want to do it in a retaliatory manner, that's their business. I don't approve of that. I think there's a legitimate reason for us to be looking at this now. And if you create a reason to look at it just because you're mad at somebody else, I don't think that case holds water.